Welcome back. You're still watching The World Today on Channels Television. Now, it's very unfortunate but true, but a U.S. cameraman working in Liberia has tested positive for the Ebola virus disease and is to be flown home to the United States for treatment. The 33-year-old freelancer has been working in the country for 3 years for a number of media outlets and most recently NBC News. President Barack Obama has pledged federal support to contain the spread in the United States after the first case there. A Liberian man diagnosed in Texas on Tuesday remains in a very serious condition. The unnamed cameraman is the fourth American known to test positive for Ebola, and they were all diagnosed in Liberia. Now, in a bid to help contain the spread of the Ebola virus disease, the international charity Save the Children is preparing to take over the management of a treatment center under construction. The outbreak has put severe strain on health facilities in some of the affected country, and charity workers say people in need of medical care shun hospitals due to fear of contracting the virus.
So what we're trying to do with the likes of this centre here is ensure that there are specialised centres which can focus on treating Ebola, and that will allow us to ensure that the wider healthcare system can be stood up, resuscitated, and can continue to deliver basic healthcare services to the rest of the population here in Sierra Leone.
Well, still talking health now, doctors in Dallas, Texas say the first person ever diagnosed with Ebola virus in the United States remains serious, as we just heard in the last report. But he's in a stable condition as health officials monitor family members and others who had possible contact with him after he arrived from Liberia. Now, the VOA's Greg Fluckus reports from Dallas, and he says officials on ground say 100 people may have been in contact with the infected man while he was contagious.
First person to be diagnosed with Ebola in the United States is Liberian national Thomas Eric Duncan, who was admitted to Texas Health Presbyterian Hospital here in Dallas Sunday. For a few days before that, he was with family and friends. Directly or indirectly, he may have been in contact with as many as 100 people. Authorities have quarantined 4 family members at their home and are seeking information about others who may have been near him. Controversy continues over the Dallas hospital's failure to immediately isolate Duncan when he first came for treatment a few days before being admitted. Dr. Tom Kenyon, Director of Global Health at the U.S. Center for Disease Control, says such mistakes come with the sudden appearance of this large epidemic.
That it's inevitable. The longer this epidemic exists, the bigger it gets, the greater the risk of importation events like we've just seen. So while we regret this has occurred and we hope the best for the gentleman's health, we do want to point out this is not a failure of the screening system. It's a reality of the epidemic that we find ourselves in.
Officials continue to monitor the health of any people who may have come in contact with Mr. Duncan, but he remains here being treated in isolation. Some people worry about what will happen if others have been infected.
At first, it was just over in Africa, and now it's here, so it's something local. You know, it's not widespread, but it's still here.
Most people, however, have expressed little worry.
Really concerned. It's at the hospital, and I'm not, in contact with anybody who's affiliated with it.
It's so far beyond my capabilities of being able to do anything about it that I'm just going to trust.
Trust in the U.S. medical system is also the attitude of Nigeria-born Gabriel Ogiri.
Whatever the situation is, the medical technology we have in this country will take care of that. We have what it takes to eradicate it. I'm not scared at all.
Many residents here also say their attitude could change if many more people turn out to have been infected by Duncan and develop the disease. Ebola experts say the best way to prevent further infections in the United States or elsewhere is to defeat the disease in West Africa, where health infrastructure and medical care remain inadequate. For Channels TV, Greg Flakus, VOA News, Houston.
Well, we move on to other stories now. The British Prime Minister David Cameron has warned British troops in Afghanistan that they face the struggle of a generation. The Prime Minister also told new Afghan President Ashraf Ghani that Britain will always be a strong partner and a good friend.
British Prime Minister David Cameron made an unannounced visit to Afghanistan on Friday, October 3, to meet with the new unity government, the first major Western leader to visit since an election crisis was resolved. Cameron's visit comes 4 days after new President Ashraf Ghani was sworn into office following months of political turmoil in the wake of a disputed election. Cameron said he was looking forward to working in the future with Ghani and with new Afghan Chief Executive Abdullah Abdullah.
We all share a common goal, which is a more secure, stable and prosperous Afghanistan. We want an Afghanistan that is no longer a safe haven for terrorists or a threat to the security of either of our countries. And today, we've discussed how we can keep working together to achieve those goals.
He said that even though Britain was bringing all its combat troops home from Afghanistan, that doesn't mean it's turning its back on the country.
Yes, we are bringing home all our combat troops, as we said we would, but we're not leaving this country alone. We are going to be, Britain specifically, training the officers which will form the backbone of the Afghan National Army. Our aid program, together with other countries' aid programs, will help to deliver some of the economic reforms and development that is needed.
The prolonged stalemate over the June runoff vote between Ghani and the rival Abdullah raised fears of instability ahead of the withdrawal of most foreign troops. The crisis ended with a political deal that made Ghani president and saw Abdullah appointed to a chief executive's position with broad powers. With the political problems resolved, Ghani said the leaders must now turn their attention to other problems which will need international cooperation to resolve.
We in Afghanistan are suffering from the ugly side of globalization, whether it's drugs, or whether it's criminal networks, or whether it's networks of extremism.
Behind the United States, Britain has been the second largest contributor to the international military coalition that has been in Afghanistan since the 2001 US-led intervention to topple the Taliban's radical Islamist regime in the wake of the September 11 attacks on the United States. More than 450 British troops have been killed in Afghanistan during the subsequent war against the Taliban insurgency and its militant allies. Most British troops will withdraw at the end of this year as the coalition's combat mission ends and Afghanistan's newly trained security forces take over the fight against the Taliban.
To Asia now, 16 people are still missing following the deadly eruption of Mount Ontake just last weekend. The search has been temporarily called off as a typhoon near the southwest coast made conditions even worse. The volcano, about 200 kilometers west of Tokyo, erupted last Saturday, killing 47 people, mostly hikers. It's still emitting poisonous fumes, and more than 1,000 people have been searching for survivors. Mount Ontake's eruption, which is the worst volcanic disaster in Japan in 90 years, spewed grey ash and stones that blanketed the entire area. Now, 2 Burmese men who the Thai police say have been accused of killing 2 British tourists, that's Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, have appeared at a news conference. Thailand's police commissioner said DNA samples taken from Miss Witheridge's body matched those of the 2 men. The bodies of Miss Witheridge, who is 23 years old, and Mr. Miller, who was 24, were found on the beach on the 15th of September with severe head injuries. The 2 men identified as Saw and Win now face charges of murder, rape and robbery. Both are from Burma. Now, as you know by now, Nigeria celebrated 54 years since its independence from the British, but also a lot of celebration went on in other parts of the world. North Korea did some celebrating on its part. The country marked the International Day of Older Persons by organizing several events for senior citizens in the capital, Pyongyang, on October the 1st. The senior citizens were seen playing volleyball, dancing, as well as playing traditional games. On the 14th of December back in 1990, the United Nations General Assembly designated October the 1st as the International Day of Older Persons. The UN said the theme of this year is leaving no one behind and promoting a society for all. Well, finally on the world today, and still talking about October the 1st activities, students at the University of California succeeded in pounding themselves into the record book for pillow fighting. With 4,200 people, they bested the previous record, which was set at a concert in Chicago.
For pillows in an attempt to set a new Guinness World Record for the largest pillow fight. With 4,200 people, they bested the previous record, which was set at a concert in Chicago.
The largest pillow fight is 4,200. So you've beaten the current world record of 3,813. Congratulations, you're officially amazing.
The annual pillow fight is part of a welcoming tradition on campus for newcomers, organized by Student Services VP Josh Nguyen.
Today, UCI broke its 5th world record for the world's largest pillow fight.
Who says school has to be boring?
Well, that's definitely a fun way to kickstart the weekend, but that's it on The World Today. Many thanks for watching. I'm Cynthia Are.